Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Ruby Lopez, and I would like to welcome you to the Awareness Film Festival. Today, we have a very exciting panel discussion with some wonderful filmmakers regarding the topic tips for first-time filmmakers. It is supposed to be a lively discussion, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. I would like for each of the panelists to introduce themselves, the film that they had at the Awareness Film Festival, and to tell us a little bit about the background of yourself as a filmmaker. Um, why don't we start off with Danny?
Oh yes, my name is Danny Fain, and the film I made is called "The Search for Conservation." It's kind of a short, absurdist comedy piece inspired by personal experiences, and it was my first time directing a film on such a scale,
When you say it was your first time directing on such a scale, what was the scale in terms of like, is this a short?
like a short film with like a full-on crew.
Okay, that's wonderful. And where are you located, Danny?
I'm in SoCal.
South California. Great. Thank you very much. Moving on to Bob. How are you, Bob? And where are you located? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm located in Quincy, Mass, which is right outside of Boston. And the film I have in this festival, awareness festival, is The Pigeons. And it's it's a I classify it as kind of a wacky political sci-fi movie. It's an 8-minute short, and I started out with the idea when I actually was in Puerto Rico in Old San Juan, and I came upon a plaza with hundreds of pigeons everywhere. And the first thing I thought of was this is right out of the birds, only it's the pigeons. So I took that idea and I sort of combined it with the political situation that's going on now, and used a couple ideas from other films and created a version of the birds, but it's really the pigeons, and a lot of different crazy, wacky things happen. And I tried to incorporate a lot of the political commentary of what's going on, and I actually used some of um, my memes and my protest posters and things that I already created, and all the ideas kind of came together. I hadn't actually wasn't even planning to make a movie, then it kind of all came together, and it was perfect for the timing of what's going on right now.
Oh, that sounds so wonderful. So this like comes, it sounds like this came about a little bit accidental for you. So,
It was accidental, and we've been getting great reactions. And I kind of thought that we would need a film that was had something to say, but it also we could have a little fun with and get people kind of having some fun while things are happening.
oh, great. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Jennylynn, nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you too. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennylynn Catarina, and my film that I have with the Awareness Film Fest is My Right, which is a short 9-minute piece on the after effects of guns in the household. I'm originally from Tennessee, and so this story is really near and dear to my heart because I actually lost a friend at a very young age due to just people thinking that it's necessary to have guns in the household, and not taking into consideration that kids don't know any better, you know? Um, and so, yes, I'm originally from Tennessee, but I am currently based in LA. And I just think there's so many beautiful ways to tell stories and send messages without being preachy.
No, that is very wonderful, and it sounds like you all three of you have such wonderful, interesting short films that you guys created. Now, this is like since our discussion is on tips for the first-time filmmakers. You're going to be sharing your experiences, what you found, what surprised you. The development process is such an interesting part of it. How did you approach the development process? Like you had just mentioned, Jennylynn, how this story, came about because it's something very near and dear to your heart. But when you decided to do the story and create your short, how was your development? How did you start crafting the story? How did you begin?
Right. So, the most important thing to me was that this isn't a story about blaming anyone. Right. So the first thing I did before I even wrote the script was I cast my dad in the non-existent script in the role that could very easily become the villain role. Um, and so sorry. I'm doing this from my car because, as everyone who is on production sets knows, things don't run according to schedule. So here we go. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. And so I did that, and then I wrote it based not on who's right, who's wrong, this, that, or the other, but just looking back, and I used a lot of flash forwards and alternate realities to try and target all the options and the ways they can go that you can't see ahead of time.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, uh, you know, for something like that, then you started crafting your story based on those kind of thoughts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you very much. And so what about you, Bob? You said that this was an accidental process for you in turning this into a short. What was your development in there, and how did you start proceeding to start your process?
I what I had done was I had came up with the idea that I mixed some different previous films together. They all kind of matched together, and one of the themes I used was the theme from the famous movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I combined that theme with the theme of the birds, and then a few other films. And I wanted to say something that was relevant to what was happening right now. And it just my process was I'd think up a few lines, I'd think up a few scenes, I'd film them. I used a number of different things, and one thing I did use in the film was um, I thought it was the perfect chance to experiment with some development of artificial intelligence for some of the scenes. I used some of my real video and real photos, and I combined it with some uh, AI creation, and I created a scene where I not only I had pigeons in a plaza, and then I created an AI photo where thousands of pigeons were landing on that plaza. So it was sort of not something I could have done in production, but it was something I could create the part of the story I wanted to tell, to give that imagery where it was just huge masses of pigeons coming down on this particular plaza and also flying up in the sky across the sun. And I combined that with the fact that I had taken some footage of the famous full eclipse of the sun back, a couple of years ago, I think it was. What year was that? And I used some of that footage, and so it was all coming together as different things were happening. And I said this would be great for the movie. This footage of the eclipse, the footage of the pigeons. It just kind of all came together as I was doing it. I didn't write anything ahead of time. It just happened as I was doing it.
Oh, that's so interesting that you decided to explore, all the different AI technologies for filmmaking right now. And that was part of the decision in your development process. What about you, Danny? What did you decide to do in terms of how did you start your development for your story?
Yeah, um, so for me, it was basically during as somebody on the autism spectrum as well as ADHD. I was affected by the methylphenidate shortage, which happened around 2022 and 2023, where for a while, kind of methylphenidate, concentration related prescriptions were kind of where there's a big shortage, which caused a lot of like kind of issues of like people not being able to get them, and I was kind of one of them, and it was kind of dealing with a lot of bizarre alternatives and a lot of bizarre kind of bureaucratic things, kind of pharmaceutical bureaucracy nonsense. So I kind of putting my personal grievances to that aside, I said, wow, this is such a bizarre scenario that it's almost kind of comedic. So I kind of wanted to kind of express that in a cathartic way in terms of showing my personal experiences, kind of adapting into like kind of a absurdist comedy story.
Well, it sounds like, all three of you in your development process were very much geared towards um, exploring and very things that are very personal to all three of you. So that's a very interesting way to approach development. And it's also the start of finding interesting stories. Now that you started the development process, what was your pre-production like? How did you start setting everything up? Like, did you raise financing at this point? How did you find your crew, and how did you cast this? Let's start with let's go. Danny, why don't you start?
Well, for me, it was so the project was done, so I was previously in the master's Master's of Fine Arts program for at Dodge for film production with an editing emphasis. And the short film I made was the project for a summer workshop where it was allowing anybody kind of the chance to make their own film. So that was kind of the background of it, but it was also in terms of pre-production for me, it was just kind of writing down the script, getting it right, while also just trying to find a crew that kind of can see the vision, that kind of saw the vision that I had.
And how did you explore finding that crew? Was it through just introductions, or was it just through resumes coming in? How do you find your crew at this
It
stage?
was a mixture of, sending kind of notices online or just kind of connecting via the school and kind of the class.
That's
Mhm.
wonderful. And then, for you, Jennylynn, how did you start your process in terms of your financing and your pre-production? I know you said you casted your dad first off. How did everything else involve? Like, how did you look for the people to highlight in your film?
This is my favorite part of the filmmaking process, actually. So I have been in LA for 7 years now. I know so many talented individuals. You meet them. I act as well, so I meet them on set, both those working in front of the camera and behind the camera. So I don't use any of the casting sites or anything. I reach out to talented individuals that I know want to make a good story, and I say, "Hey, this is my idea. Is anyone interested in this?" And so I really think it's about finding your people and using those opportunities. If you're working background on set, if you're working as an AD or a PA, and really like taking those moments to connect with the people around you, because there are so many people who are trying to do the same thing we are, who are trying to tell impactful stories, um, that you can really kind of find your group. This is my fourth project that I've made, and so I already knew who my director would be because she's brilliant, and I've worked with her on previous projects. And then she helped me, and between actors I knew and actors she knew, we built the cast and the crew from there.
So, that's very interesting because, like, Danny said that he was also tapping his network from school and from people that he had met. And so it seems like that is also what you are also emphasizing in your process, is that people that you have been meeting is where you want to go first. Because they can relate to your story, and that you find that they're already talented individuals.
Not only talented, but you know them, and like honestly, more important than having talent on set is having individuals who are nice to work with. You know, I would say
Okay.
that is the most important thing. And so going to these people and knowing that they're going to make my set day easier when I'm trying to do 5 jobs, that's everything.
Here's Bob nodding to that comment. I believe that it sounds like you are totally agree with Jennylynn there in terms of like the nice people on set to be working with.
Well, that's absolutely right. It's very important to have fun and to have nice people working with. And we just happened to have one of our cast members that joined us here unexpectedly. This is Cinco, and he is actually in the movie. Um, and the relation um, relationship is that the a version. I don't want to give too much away of the movie, but You all remember the presidential campaign where um, uh, Trump talked about they're eating the dogs. Did you all see that? A lot of people saw that debate between Biden and Kamala Harris and Trump, where he talked about eating the dogs, the Haitian refugees, and that was a whole scandal that happened. I don't know if you remember that, but so I took that and used that in the movie too. So people in my cast are my cat, my dog Luna. I also have recast my wife, who's in several other films of mine, and she is Earth Mother of the Future. So it was a lot of fun doing different things with different members and people I've drafted in the past. That's as an independent filmmaker. Um, I haven't I haven't been a filmmaker who's raised a lot of money. A lot of it is just uh, done myself through all the different um, struggles. A lot of it was funded from my own my own funds, and that's what you do as an independent filmmaker. You have to go out and you have to do what you have to do. You get the equipment you have to get. Sometimes you spend money, sometimes you get a little money for donations, but you do what you have to do. And I can't afford to, and I don't have the patience to go out and to raise a lot of thousands of dollars. So I just end up doing a lot of the roles myself. I do the editing, I do the filming, I do the music. Basically, I do it all myself, and by drafting people, family members, friends, and that's part of the fun of making the movie. But it's also part of what you have to do as an independent. And I just find it hard to just go through all the things you have to do, hoops you have to jump through to do all the funding. So I just do as much of it I can as I can myself. And plus, I view editing as an art form. I like doing the editing part because it's where you can use a lot of creativity. You can get really into coming up with things at the moment. And when you're editing, you come up with ideas that you might not have come up with if you weren't doing the editing yourself. So I kind of like doing it all myself, but then it'd be nice to hire an editor, it'd be nice to hire cinematographers. But um, there's arguments for both sides.
No, I mean, it's very definitely the case because sometimes, if you have limited resources or if this is the first time you're doing it, there is a good chance that you will be wearing many hats as you
True.
find
It's
that crew.
especially true of new filmmakers. You end up doing have to, and it's actually good for you as a new filmmaker to have to do all those roles, to learn those roles. It's definitely and then eventually, if you ever did make it big, it's good to have done that and to know what that entails.
No, absolutely. I definitely agree. What do you think, Danny? I mean, did you find that you had to wear many hats as well during your production stage? And how did that work out in terms of your short?
Yes, I did. It was definitely many hats because I did the writing and directing as well as the sound as well as the editing and sound design of the project.
And is that something that you enjoy doing when you were doing this?
I
And
do,
did
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of the project, not just this film, but other projects I worked on. I am the one that kind of does a bit of it all.
it's so interesting that you also said that you did the sound design. How was that doing the sound design? Is there anything that you would give any advice to anybody about sound design while who's considered, because sound design is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess um just off the cuff, just kind of advice I have, just kind of don't strive for perfection because then it will kind of reach something that you feel like that it kind of feels like too kind of polished. Like you need to have a kind of a good kind of happy medium where it's like, it could be better, but at the same time, I mean, it could be you're wondering maybe I could have done this differently, but still understand it's still overall like pretty a successful job.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what about you, Jennylynn, in terms of your process you said you found a director for your film, and you have used people that you have known in terms of your casting crew. So what was your what would you say would be the advice you would give to people who are working with their crew and how to approach, especially finding a director?
I'm gonna say it's a trial and error process. And I mean that not in a blasé way, but you're gonna find your person that you work really well with. Now, I had someone else direct my first two projects, and he was lovely. He was great. But his brain and my brain did not work the same way.
Right.
And so it goes back to that connection, and I would say it's really important to meet with them ahead of time to discuss those expectations. I would say don't lock yourself down right away when you're doing those crew interviews, when you're doing those team interviews. Don't feel bad for inquiring to multiple people about the job of director or the job of cinematographer or any of those positions, because this is something important you're building, and you've got to make sure you find someone who works well with you. And that doesn't mean there aren't hundreds of other brilliant people out there that are qualified and do a good job, but at the end of the day, it's your team. So I'm in pre-production for a feature film right now, and I've been doing meetings upon meetings upon meetings because we are actually filming in Mississippi. So we're going to use some local Mississippi talent. And it is very different for me. I have a co-producer in Mississippi, but I'm having to put a lot of trust in reels and resumes and things I haven't had to put trust in as much before because I've had that firsthand knowledge. So it is different if you have to go at it blind and without the firsthand meeting experience.
Do you have like a go-to question that you ask especially this new film that you're working on right now, because you're opening yourself to potentially new people that you have not worked with in the past. So is there like a go-to question to find if you are a good fit, if they are a good fit for your project?
Um, I love, I'll give you two. I love, why did you get into filmmaking? And what do you think is the most important aspect to making a successful film? And I also like, what is your favorite movie and what is it about that movie that you think makes you feel that way?
Oh, those are very good ones, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then how was your working? Is there any tips you would say, like working with a crew? Like, what's the approach of how did you approach like making your day for your production?
Oh, first ADs are very important. I say that I have not had a first AD on any of my sets, but first ADs are very important. And I would say if you're looking to make an indie film, especially if you're a first-time filmmaker, um, one location. You can tell so many powerful stories without moving to multiple locations, and your day gets set so much further behind than you think it does by having to move location. So we shot My Right all in one day. We rented one of those multi-purpose studios that has several different sets, and you can just move around. And it was a really good investment on our part because then we were able to get it all done in one day, which is like 10 pages of script or something. So I would say as much as you can, if it's a story that can be told in one location, that's really helpful.
That is great advice. Thank you very much. What about you, Danny? You said this is the first time you've been working with a crew. How did you find shooting and working with your crew? Is there any tips that you would give to, that first time filmmaker who's, this is their first time going to be shooting their film and dealing with a crew?
I said just kind of make sure that they're just the right people that kind of know your vision, the right people that you vibe with and kind of you're on the same page. Because if you're not, then that can lead to like a lot of lead to a lot of kind of interruptions or lead to like a lot of delays.
And how did you finding those people? Did you have like go-to questions when you were trying to find your crew to make sure that you guys are on the same page?
Honestly, it's just kind of I guess just kind of state of the project. It was just kind of, finding people that were interested and kind of bringing them along.
I believe you said you were also the director and the writer for your film. Is that correct?
Hmm. Yes.
So how was your relationship with your DP? How did you work that out in terms of working on this
Well,
project?
relationship with the DP was was via the class connection, but it ended up really good because he kind of understood kind of the aim I was going for, and I feel like we kind of collaborated to make a great project out of it. And he was also helpful in kind of, acquiring the camera team for it as well.
Did you work out a shot list? Is that how you did it? Or were you like just
We did do a shot list, yeah.
do you also storyboard? Do you think that that's a beneficial way to do it?
Uh, um, we didn't really storyboard, but it's just much more shot list. We did kind of a lot of pre-planning rehearsal.
So you are very big in rehearsals for your project.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. What about you, Bob? So I know you have, you had a lot of AI in this. How did that whole process work in your production?
Well, one of the good things I think about AI is you can use your own video and you can use your own photos to inform what you create. So when I would say I need a picture of tens of thousands of pigeons flying across the sky, and you can upload photos that you've taken in video that you've taken of pigeons, and then that AI can create uh, a a grand photo of thousands of pigeons by using the type of photo that you give it. So I thought that's a very good innovation and a use of AI, I think. And you can do that with video too. So there's some pretty good advances, but in a way, I, it's given some freedom to small independent filmmakers to be able to do that. Because to create shots like that would be, as I kind of mentioned before, would be impossible to do. And it's a version of computer graphics. That's what it is. It's just another version of having is, but it makes it easier for an independent filmmaker to do that. Um,
And what
and
program?
you can also use it to really explore some different ideas, different thoughts that you wouldn't be able to do. It was a good use of it, I thought.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us which programs did you decide to use that people could
I
explore?
actually used the Adobe versions of the AI and the Firefly and Photoshop that's incorporated right with Photoshop. So it's they had a lot of great I had a lot of great results with that using the Photoshop AI features.
Oh, that's so good to know, and that sounds an interesting time to explore for anybody out there who wants to, try all the AI features in their filmmaking. Um, so, in terms of you guys, now that you've done your production, what was the post process for? Is there anything significant that you realize that is good to know about the post process that you think is always beneficial that you did not know before you started your film? What do you think, Bob?
In my post process, I used a lot of music too in the movie, and I used some music sound manipulation. I used Isotope and I used Ableton Live, and I created some of the music myself. Created basically the voices myself. I used um, sang a few lines into it, and then I used some of the features from Isotope that integrate with Ableton Live, and I created a whole chorus of voices from one line that I had, a few lines that I had written, rewritten from a Amy Winehouse song, and sort of turned everything upside down and had like multiple voices singing. And I changed the pitch of it so you couldn't really tell, so it sounded like more multiple voices singing. And that I thought that was was a good use of some of the different features that you can use with those different sound effects. And then I integrated it. I use Edius software for editing, and I also use Premiere, but mostly my main editor is Edius, which is a Grass Valley. It's a terrific editing software, and you can do pretty much anything you want with it. So I think a lot of it is learning how to integrate the different aspects of the film with your software and be able to be creative at the moment. When you come up with an idea at the moment, don't be afraid to sort of go with it and see how that works.
Sounds like you had some interesting innovations that you were trying to do in your sound and in your music. And it sounds like there's some interesting editing software that you used as well.
Yeah, it was
You
really a lot of fun too.
know, Danny, you said the same thing. Like, you said you touched a little bit on your post-production when you talked about your sound design. How did you find your post, and what was the process that you would say that you were most surprised about and you wish you had known earlier, and that you want to make sure that you do for your next film?
The post was interesting because it took like I forget when I kind of was done editing, but it took about like it took it 6 months to like do the final edit, then like another 4 to 6 months to kind of do the audio edit. So it took a while, but it was interesting for me. So when writing the script, I kind of envisioned kind of a more Edgar Wright style comedy, which is more kind of quicker pace, more kind of fast cuts. But when editing the project and the way the first turned out, I realized it was better just kind of have it be kind of more kind of longer and more lingering, and just kind of where just kind of letting the absurdism kind of settle in more and have it be more kind of slightly kind of a bit more slow and kind of steadily paced, just to kind of really kind of push in just how absurdist this is.
That's it's always interesting, the different cuts that your film goes through, like for your first string out to the final cut, uh, and figuring out what that's going to look like. Did it change for you in terms of, like you said, the pacing changed on it? Did the length change when you were exploring this?
The length was always I mean, it was kind of just cutting a few scenes here and there, but overall the length was like, it kind of stayed the same.
Okay, that's wonderful. Jennylynn, what about your post process, especially now that you're going into a feature? And I believe you said this was your first feature, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going into my first feature, yes.
So with all the things that you learned doing shorts, especially with the post process, it is a longer process, especially with post. How are you gonna, is there anything you're gonna approach differently, or that that you need to do differently because it is now a feature that you're working on?
Yeah, some things I've learned on the various projects. Number one is sound. Like, my first two projects did not have good sound, and it really detracts from the overall quality. So make sure you have someone that you trust getting that sound, especially if you're not hearing it in your headphones at the time. You have to really have someone that you trust. The second thing would be get a lot of shots that aren't on your shot list, because often you get to the editing floor and you realize that you don't know how you're transitioning from one scene to the next. You don't have an idea, like, you've written it all, the story's complete, but you didn't get that extra stuff. And so how are you going to work the transitions without anything coming across as choppy? So basically, I would say whenever the camera's not busy, be grabbing extra stuff. Grab exterior shots, grab cool little object shots, prop shots, anything and everything that you can grab that will help you cut it later. And going more into that, I would say allow, and this goes back a little bit to the writing of it, allow time to breathe, right? Not every moment that you film or that you write has to be advancing the story forward, because that's not how real life works. There's all the in-between moments. So definitely finding ways to accept that and reflect it back, because it is how life is. And don't do too many takes, would be my advice. Oh, I realized I just said get all the extra stuff, but if you're the director and there's a scene and you know on take 2 you've nailed it, don't do 5 more takes because you're having fun. Or don't do 5 more takes because the actor says, I think I can do it better. You got to tell the actor, no, we've got it. You have to trust me. Because otherwise, it really increases the amount of time you're going to spend in post production being like, this cut, that cut, the other cut, sorting through a lot of extra stuff.
No, that is very good advice. Thank you very much. I know we're going to be wrapping up shortly, and I know you're going to have to leave soon. So, can you tell us a bit about what your advice is for film festivals? This is there is a whole process to this, and also because I know you're going to be leaving. So, after you tell us about the film festivals, can you do any last social media plug-in about your film, about yourself, so anybody can follow you?
Absolutely. So for film festivals, especially for first-time filmmakers, listen, we all fall into this trap. We have our first film, it's done, we're so proud of it, and we submit it to Sundance and TIFF and all of the really big ones. And it's fine if you want to do that submission. But what I would say is really take the time ahead of time to figure out what your story is and who your target audience is. For example, this film festival is wonderful because it's to spread awareness, which is something that really aligned with my film. Same thing if you're a female filmmaker, there's a ton of festivals that specifically want to help you have your voice be heard. There's different like LGBTQ festivals. There's a ton of different niche festivals that you can target, and that's going to get your film more seen than spending $50, $60 to submit to Sundance, where I'm not going to say you're not going to get in, but exponentially speaking, your chances are much lower. I would also say, if you get into the film festival, go to the film festival and invite people to the film festival. Don't be nervous about seeing it on the big screen. If you've put in this much time, go. Make the time to go and really enjoy that moment because you deserved it. And my plug, I guess, because I am about to hop off. You can follow us on Instagram. It's Middle of Nowhere Productions is the Instagram handle. And you'll see stuff about this film as well as our previous projects. And probably soon you will be seeing stuff about our upcoming horror film, My Best Friend's Killer.
That's wonderful. Congratulations on this film and your upcoming film. And, thank you for joining us today at the Awareness Film Festival. And, like I said, this will be on EO Flick and our YouTube channel. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And for any first-time filmmakers listening, I've been there. And if you want to send me a DM or any questions, you're welcome to. Thank you.
Great. Thank
Bye.
you very much. So, Bob, what do you think about film festivals? What is your tip to approaching film festivals and figuring out where to go and what to do when you're actually at the film festival?
Well, I agree with the points that Jennylynn made, and I'd like to emphasize too that when you're choosing which ones to apply to, read the details, what the film festival says, what they think is important, and try to find those that which best match up with your film. I mean, it's obvious you want to try and match up your film with the festival that's interested, like the Awareness Festival. Is a good example of how they're interested in the kind of films that are maybe social justice films and something that has a message, an important message for people. But I think too, when you are getting into a film festival, when you get in, I think it's important. This sort of goes along with what Jenny was saying, but it's important to not only go to your film, but it's important to actually go physically to all the other films and support the festival because depending upon the festival, sometimes it's hard to get a lot of audience at any given film. There's a lot of films in a film festival, so it's important to go and support the filmmakers that are there, the filmmakers that are maybe just starting out and don't have a big name. It's important to go and support them, and it's important to support the film festival, not just go to your film and then never show up at anything else at the festival. Go to see the other movies, and I find that most of the movies, or pretty much all the movies that get into festivals, are good, and they're different, and they have a lot of value to them. So go and observe what other filmmakers are doing, what kind of techniques they have, what they're showing, what they're talking about, and how they do stuff. It's important to see that. As you're developing as a filmmaker, you want to be able to see what other people are doing and get some ideas from it, and also see, are you matching up with what they're doing? Are you, as far as your quality, and or do you need to step up your game at what any given individual element of your filmmaking? You want to be able to see as many as you can. It's a great chance to actually go, and plus the developing relationships, and it's a lot of fun to go and talk with other filmmakers at these festivals. You want to be able to talk with them, different filmmakers, and see what they're doing, and also maybe their thoughts on your film and if they had any feedback. But it is important to do that. I think I do enjoy going to the film festivals, and I do enjoy the whole process. And it's a way to get your film out there and get some recognition too, and to get some feedback.
Great, thank you very much. What about you, Danny? This is this the first time that you've been doing the film festival circuit? How did you approach it
Yes.
in finding the film festivals to have your film be in?
Yes, well, actually, so the initial film festivals were from, so there's this Go project. We have an academic advisor that kind of helps students kind of start with kind of what film festivals to submit to. So it started from there. But it's also just over time, it's just been kind of me just kind of finding, unique film festivals. I kind of agree with what was said earlier. It's kind of don't, you shouldn't focus on only applying to the big names. As a first-time filmmaker, you should just kind of apply to, the more unique and kind of niche festivals that kind of fit your vision and kind of fit the style you're going for, and kind of go from there.
Is there anything that you found in preparing to when you were applying for the film festivals that they should know? I mean, there is the application process. Is there something that a first-time filmmaker should be aware that they need to do in their
Uh,
application that it will enhance
well,
their chances as well as any deliverables?
well, I think deliverables, definitely depends on the festival. But if I may say, like one cautionary thing to look out for, this was something I kind of learned was that a lot of the festivals that I was applying to, initially was kind of saying like, this is IMDb qualifying, this festival will help you get your project on IMDb. But I've actually learned that's kind of a red flag, because basically IMDb registration, that's something you can do on your own for free. So the festivals that are kind of saying this, you kind of feel it kind of feels kind of just slightly dubious or not completely true. So just kind of be on the lookout for those type of offers.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we do have a question here from Thomas. He was asking that, he's been saying that you guys have been giving great tips, and he's just wondering if any of you guys have used crowdfunding, and how are you looking to monetize your film, or is that something that you're exploring right now? Danny?
Well, my film we actually didn't use crowdfunding, it was self-funded. And as for the second question, I'd like to eventually, but just kind of, I'm still submitting to festivals, still kind of seeing where it kind of goes, and kind of going from there.
Okay. What about you, Bob? Any thoughts on that subject?
I think I haven't had experience with crowdfunding myself, but I think it's great to do. Any way you can get money for your movie, you should. If you have the spirit and ability to do it and time to do it, you should do it. And it's I haven't had experience myself with the crowdfunding. I think as far as getting your film out there and monetizing it, I think it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. There's so many different outlets out there. There's so many different streaming outlets. There's changes happening. There's mergers happening. We hear about mergers all over the place. There's new mergers happening with all the studios, and but there's a lot of places to get it out. But the hard part is monetizing it. I think a lot of filmmakers are struggling with that on how to do that, and I don't really have a good answer for that because things are changing, and it's really hard to say how to get to that point where you can really monetize it.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts on this subject. We're going to be wrapping up shortly unless I get any other questions, but here's my last question for you guys. What are your top 3 tips that you would like to give to a first-time filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker about what they should look out for? Your top 3 or your top 1, your choice.
Is my top tip would be just kind of stay true to your vision. Don't really lose sight of what your goal is and kind of what your narrative is, and just kind of just stay focused on that and make sure that everything involving the making of it is kind of true to that.
And do you have a top tip in terms of production or post for them?
Just kind of have a steady plan, but be willing to improvise if for any scenario or any last minute change.
So be able to pivot on a dime. Sounds good. What about you, Bob? What is your top tip for aspiring filmmakers, first-time filmmakers? What would you like for people to know?
My tip is to don't be afraid to have an opinion, and don't be afraid to say what you want to say, and to incorporate that into your film. And part of that is to try and make a film or have some theme to it that is going to make this world a better place. We need films out there um, that are going to do that. I think especially you can't be in this atmosphere we're in right now without realizing that um, we've got to have a voice in where this world is going. And if you look at the big picture, we've got it. And as a filmmaker, you want to be able to have a voice in if you have an opinion, and if you want to see this world advance as it needs to. Have an opinion and don't be afraid to use it and say it. And you don't have to put in, if you're making a film, if you're making a documentary, if you're making a political film that has something to say, if you're making a social justice documentary, you don't have to include the so-called alternate voice or alternate opinion. You have something to say, you can say it. And the various political factions, they can say what they want, and they have a lot of airtime, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of uh, people working that can put their message out there. You don't need to have repeat what they have to say. They have a lot of airtime. You say what you have to say, and don't be afraid to do that.
No, that's very great advice. You both said it like, stay true to your own vision, to your creative voice. And, this is your film. So definitely, take the time to be true to yourself and put out the best product film that you could put out there. We do have a question is from Jason. He says, I think everyone's films was just around 10 minutes. Is there a reason that for that time to be used? And is that a good length? So how did you figure out the length of your film? Was it just very, very much organic, or were you looking to have it like very concentrated amount instead of a longer time frame?
I wanted to make a shorter film. I've been leaning towards making shorter films, and the trend has been people are it's hard to get people to watch a longer film these days. People's attention spans are going way down. We're being affected by social media, quick little films, 5-second films, 10-second, 20-second, 30-second films. And people are being raised on cell phones these days, and it's hard to tell a story. It's hard to tell a long story. If you're making a social justice documentary, it's hard to tell a long story and keep people's attention. Well, there is a certain element out there that will watch a documentary and will watch a longer documentary, but I think it's getting harder and harder to get people to watch longer films and longer documentaries, especially. Although, I mean, there is a certain element that will do that, but plus, just things are changing, and I like to keep films shorter, and I like to incorporate things that are going to make them interesting. If you look at the times that people watch a film, they'll watch it for 20 seconds, and if it doesn't capture their attention, they move on to something else, and that's making it difficult to really tell a profound and deeper story in that needs to have those kind of details in it for to be able to tell complex stories. So I'm doing both. I'm making feature-length documentaries at approximately an hour, which is usually the time limit of a feature documentary needs to be. But I'm also making short things because to catch people's attention and trying to have some impact on what is going on in their thinking and in the world.
Great, thank you very much. What about you, Danny? I mean, you had mentioned that you pretty much knew the length of the time that you wanted your film to be. How did that come about?
Yes, well, it was just kind of just want to tell the story just quick, and my editing style tends to be kind of very quick and succinct, kind of just immediate, just like really just telling the story beats as as succinctly and as easy to understand as possible. So that's kind of what influenced kind of my length being short.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I want to, we need to actually wrap up now. So what I would like to know is where are you guys doing next? What's happening next with your film? Any social media? How do we follow you? And what's your next project? Bob, what about you?
Well, I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Facebook, and I've been doing a lot of things on those now, and I'm going to be having a big promotion set up for the Pigeons, which is being shown on um, with it just after a another panel on the 9th of December. And so I'm going to be announcing that on all my social media platforms, and mostly if you can find me on Blue Sky or on Facebook or YouTube as Flame LaMothe, FLAME LaMothe, LAMOTHE. That's where you can find me on the different social media.
Great, thank you very much. Good luck with your future projects, and I hope you keep enjoying the Awareness Film Festival. Thank you. What about you, Danny? So where can we find your social media? Where is this film going next? Or is this
Yes.
wrapping up its run? And anything else you're doing? What's your next project?
So right now, no project in the moment, but in terms of this film, I'm just, still submitting to film festivals, kind of seeing where it goes from there and just kind of hoping for the best. And the best ways to reach me are my LinkedIn, just under my name, or there's also my Instagram account, you know, which is Danny Fain, one word altogether, underscore photography.
That is wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us today for this discussion on tips for filmmakers, first-time filmmakers. It was wonderful talking to both of you and Jennylynn. We are so glad that you're here at the Awareness Film Festival. Like I had mentioned, this panel will be on EQ, EQ Flick and the Awareness Film Festival YouTube channel. Thank you very much and have a great night, everyone. And from the Awareness Film Festival, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us. It was great.